elections work from the standpoint of the registrar voters. Now that the lines are drawn, and most of the supervisor in the different counties, most of the supervisory boundary lines are drawn, our offices start re-precincting. And that's a process where you redraw the boundaries of the precinct so that they conform with the new district boundaries of the Assembly, Senate, Congressional, and Supervisory. Okay? So what happens when you redraw the precinct boundaries? What is the impact on the ground when you do that? Well, first of all, your precincts change, so the precinct numbers where you live may change, but also your polling place may change. So this is really invisible to most voters and even to a lot of politicians until right before the election when they realize, oh my God, you know, where I thought I was going to be campaigning or I thought my voters were going to be going to vote, they're going somewhere else now. Now, in Marin County, these changes are not going to be major because we have one Senate district, one Assembly district, one Congressional district, so we're pretty stable. But what we're going to be doing, and what a lot of counties will be doing now, is redrawing their boundaries to conform as much as possible with the census block and tract and census block group boundaries for the purpose of being able to allow campaigns and politicians and you know, even our offices to analyze voter participation using census data. Now, most counties, a lot of counties don't do that now because in the last census drawing, the lines were all redrawn manually, and nobody was thinking about doing it with census tract numbers. Now everything is automated. It's much easier to do it that way. So I think you're going to find in elections much better data coming out of the local county offices. That's what our goal is. I also wanted to tell you a couple of other things that I think are important to know. And one is, every county produces its own voter information pamphlet and sample ballot. And candidates now at the state level have an opportunity to write ballot statements that can go into that local pamphlet. If you're running for state office, of course, there's the state pamphlet, but we don't really deal with that except to distribute it. So it's very important to get something into that pamphlet because it's pretty much, it goes to every single voter, and it's a very, very relatively inexpensive way to advertise your qualifications and experience. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is that your county registrar of voters can provide you with resources that are just, you know, really wonderful for very little money. We can't make a profit on this, so we charge our time and materials for providing CDs of the voters, and we can gather information, give you information about turnout, and by precinct, all the way down to the precinct level, by Assembly district, by Senate district, any way you want it within that county. So, think of your county registrar of voters as a resource for you. And most of the registrars are very, very helpful. They want to be helpful to everybody, regardless of class. So I'll leave it with that. And do you have any questions of me? Yes.
Yeah. How much are you charging for your CDs that really work on an ordinary person's computer?
Yes, they will. And we charge. I think our charge is $45.
Oh, that's
yeah.
I don't think
it may be more because I don't see it. It's under $100. I know that. Yes. Yes.
Oh, no. Briefly, what is the re-precincting process and why is it done?
Well, first of all, your precincts cannot cross supervisory boundaries, Senate districts, Assembly districts. There are a lot of rules for that. So when these larger districts lines are redrawn, it messes around with the precinct lines, and you have to redraw those lines to conform with your new lines. That's why it's done.
You're proposing to make your precincts go to census block groups or what?
Well, yeah, what we're we're trying to do is to try to have the precinct boundary lines follow along with those census geography as much as possible.
I guess my question is, if you're trying to do studies of voting trends, if you radically change the boundaries of the precincts,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to make apples to apples comparisons.
Right. I know that, but you have to think of the long term and the greater good. Right now, you cannot tell in your precincts, the way we've done them, who's voting. Really, you can tell by age and gender, because that's what we collect with our voter data. But all of that census stuff like language, ethnicity, all of that stuff that is becoming much more important is lost.
I would suggest that you can get the country of origin from the voter registration forms. We've done it in San Francisco, and as far as language, we also, people request bilingual materials in Spanish or Chinese, we're doing that also.
Right. You can do it that way, but in counties that aren't covered by the Voting Rights Act, you have no recourse. And of course, that's another thing. Some of the counties are going to be covered by the Voting Rights Act for different languages. We may in Marin be covered for Spanish. We don't know that. And I don't know when we'll find out.
Why does it vary? I mean, why isn't it equal across the board?
Why isn't it what?
Why is it different? You said in some counties you don't.
Well, some
you have
counties, if you can envision like Alameda County, I don't know what it ended up with this time, but I think we had 5 assembly districts, 3 Senate districts, and it's just, these counties are crisscrossed with all of these different boundary lines. So re-precincting and managing an election becomes much more complicated in a county like that than in a county like Marin, where you just have 1 Senate district, 1 congressional district, and it's very simple. So that's what happens.
What do you charge for a candidate statement for the Senate or the Assembly?
I can't tell you offhand, but if you go on our website, you'll find that. Our website is www.marinvotes.org, and if you want to call me tomorrow, I'll give you my phone number, I can tell you. I just don't know, it's
Sashi has a question.
Yes.
I was just going to add a couple of things from my experience as a candidate working with your office. One, they do have the country of origin is available in the database, and 2, they also gave me to compare. They cross-reference this district used to be this district. You can get a list of what used to be, so you can map it, what the old lines were, what the new lines will be. They gave that to me very easily, and they also, I got data at the beginning, and I got data after the absentee ballots came in, so that I could, after the absentee, you've got 2 waves. You've got the absentee people, and you've got the people who are going to vote at the polls. And once the absentee ballots start coming in, you don't want to waste time sending materials and volunteers and money to people who have already voted. So you can also get that kind of data from the registrar's office. And I would assume you can get that from all of the counties, but I know you can get it from Marin. I was in there all the time getting data, like getting an update. Tony knows me really well now. I want a new CD, I want it like this, and they were very easily able to cut it up however I wanted it. It was just an Excel kind of type data. So you need to be able to manipulate that kind of thing. But otherwise, the data is there, and it is something that any candidate should really make good use of.
So one anecdote about the country of origin. I'm not sure how reliable that data is. My mother was born in Cuba of German parents. She doesn't speak a word of Spanish, but the registrar in Alameda County sent her a little postcard asking her if she wanted her materials in Spanish.
Was it in Spanish?
Well, it was in English. It was bilingual.
It was in English?
So, a lot of people are born in the different countries, but they don't necessarily speak that language.
Yes, I applied 4 or 5 times for the lottery to sit on one of the commissions. Each time, the website refused to accept my application. Is there any reason for that?
Are you talking about the supervisors' commissions?
Yes.
I don't have anything to do with that. That's run by the clerk of the board.
She's in Marin. She's in Marin.
She's in Marin, Peter.
Oh, Okay, so I guess you want to get on with the other panelists? So